Originally aired in February 2003, Nickelodeon released a made-for-TV animated rock opera musical called The Electric Piper. However, it was originally planned to be released in the year 2000, as announced from news archives as late as the end of 1999, so it would be released next year at the turn of the millennium. However, having sat on the shelves of Nickelodeon for 3 years, when it finally did release in 2003, it was never to be seen again after one airing for 13 years until August 9th, 2016, just about 10 years ago now. It was found and seen again online for the first time ever since it last was seen on TV, as it was never also released, according to Lost Media reporter Blame It On Jorge, VHS or DVD, and only a few clips have resurfaced online.
Electric Piper. The Electric Piper was a 2003 Nickelodeon movie. It was an adaptation of the Nickelodeon show The Pied Piper. The plot involved a guitarist named Sly, who uses the power of music to drive away rats from a town called Hamlin. After the mayor refuses to give Sly his reward, he takes his revenge by convincing the town children to run away with him. The movie aired a few times on Nickelodeon, but was never released onto VHS or DVD. Only 3 clips of it was resurfaced onto the internet, one of which was taken down. It is unknown if anyone has a full copy of the movie.
I personally am also going to share with all of you my journey as Synth Commando of finding the lost TV Nick flick when it was available again online in 2016, and my whole entire journey behind the scenes finding in 10 years. Bill Burnett, who was a storyteller and songwriter for animation, in 1997 pitched the idea to Hanna-Barbera with Fred Seibert as the last president of Hanna-Barbera before it would be absorbed by Warner Brothers. The idea was eventually put on ice until a year later because of Warner Brothers absorbing HB.
The inception of the idea goes back to when I was at Hanna-Barbera. Fred Seibert was the president of Hanna-Barbera, and he brought me out to work at as the creative director for Turner at Hanna-Barbera. And I heard him talking to a person at Turner Home Entertainment about doing Disney-like fairy tales, musical fairy tales.
Right.
And that's right up my alley. I write that kind of thing in my sleep. You know, I love that kind of stuff, and I love adapting. Musicals are basically the theater of adaptation. You know, there's very few original musicals compared to musicals that are based on a book by John Michener or a book. You know, almost every musical is based on something that came before, and I like doing that. I think it's an exciting process to translate a classic story into something with music, and so I asked him if I could submit something, and he said sure, and I put together this thing that was at the time just it wasn't intended to be an updated version of the Pied Piper, it was the Pied Piper.
In early 1998, after Frederator Studios, founded by Fred Seibert, after leading HB, was founded, the idea was brought up again by Bill Burnett, who had the idea to create a made-for-TV fairy tale story with his style of songwriting. He was requested to add a modern rock style to it. This led to the idea of him combining 1960s youth rebellion mixed with the story of the Pied Piper.
Music that I had written wasn't what they wanted. They wanted pop music, music that would be perceived as, and since now let me go back to the inception. The basic concept was still the same, which was that I felt that the 1960s represented a time when an entire generation of people, of young people, had been lured away from the normal path that they would have been on that their families would have had them on, such as, staying and working in the home or working up in town, getting jobs, that going to school that the parents would have wanted them to do. And the whole generation was lured away by the energy of rock and roll, the energy of rock music.
Very beginning of the development, there was difficulty due to higher power executives, most notably Sherry Gunther and Barbara Epstein, who had huge odds with each other. Bill was forced to fast-paced write the script because Sherry Gunther had already hired artists, animators who work on production, and even a director was hired as well already, Raimi Muskies. Raimi was an animation director and storyboard artist who had 9 years of experience at Klasky Csupo, known for storyboarding on the earliest of The Simpsons and the adult show direction Duckman for a few episodes. Just before the Electric Piper, or at the time the Pied Piper only, he had just hopped on from the Rugrats movie released in '98. Bill Burnett had to work overtime on the Pied Piper at Nickelodeon while also working on his TV series that was made for Frederator for Nickelodeon's Oh Yeah Cartoons pilot showcase series, which at the time was in its pilot phase, known as Chalk Zone, which is mostly forgotten by Nickelodeon as well and underappreciated.
Is the Oh Yeah Cartoons symbol. When you see it, be prepared for this. Practically always new, definitely always different. Oh Yeah Cartoons. Tomorrow at noon, 11 Central, on the best place to turn for new and different tunes, Nickelodeon.
Spend the morning working on Chalk Zone and at night working on the Pied Piper script. The script was completed and it was considered final July 7th, 1998. With the script finalized by the summer of '98, demo song tracks were recorded with Bill leading the way along with composer Guy Moon, who sadly passed away in early January this year, who had also been a Nickelodeon animation composer for soundtracks of Nick shows over the years. At the time, he was working on Cartoon Network's Cow and Chicken, which Bill Burnett had also done story supervising on.
Chicken's an ugly weenie! Nobody likes me, nobody wants me around. They don't want him around. Before they pick me up, they put me down.
There was a version of a soundtrack also noted without Guy Moon's involvement, which I have uploaded to YouTube during my findings journeys in the early 2020s.
351 jagged chord for Iceberg.
Voice actors were eventually hired and became known for recording the early Temp soundtrack placeholder of 1998 for the Electric Piper, and it was all ended up being criticized and forced to be revised. Even voice actors were replaced. The style of songs were mostly criticized by higher executives at Nickelodeon for sounding too like, as we probably already know, original songs made for the musical that sounded like realistic, real-life 60s songs.
Either that or they don't care. They'd rather criticize our clothes or make us cut our hair. Oh, but I smell a rat. I smell a rat. Oh, I smell a rat. everything I've said it was, or ain't it?
Rinky-dink-dink, you have exceeded my wildest expectations. Hamlin is ripe for ratification. These cowardly Hamlin folk don't even lift a finger against us.
Oh, yeah? My parents just don't see them, either that or they don't care. They'd rather criticize our clothes or make us cut our hair. Oh, but I smell a rat. I smell a rat. Smell a rat.
Well, Mr. Rat-a-tat-tat, sir, is Hamlin everything I said it was, or ain't it?
Rinky-dink-dink, you have exceeded my wildest expectations. Hamlin is ripe for ratification. These cowardly Hamlin folk don't even lift a finger against us.
Oh, yeah?
1999, the movie is announced at the end of the year through news archives to be released next year in 2000, and even an employee yearbook thanks to Supersonic, Lost Media Enthusiast, for reporting on that.
And with this Nickelodeon yearbook, it seems that when the first one sold, it prompted another one to go up, and I caught it, knowing I would buy it if given another opportunity. A couple weeks after I lost the original copy with that tweet, I gained another copy of my own, the never-before-seen Nickelodeon 1998 yearbook, which details two of the first direct-to-TV movies being produced under the program. One called Around the World in 80 Days, which features an all-animal cast, and of course the famous Electric Piper, previously called the Pied Piper, in this early piece of artwork from before the title was finalized. This movie is best known for having been aired very briefly on Nickelodeon in the early 2000s, before becoming lost for years after that, with a full search for a copy having been conducted in the community. Interestingly, it says that both of these two projects will be in Blockbuster stores next year, but I don't think the Electric Piper ever got any kind of home media release at all.
On January 11th, 2000, the movie is completed, according to the Master Tape Archive title card, and is planned to be released sometime later, even to be not only released on TV, but also in Blockbusters in 2000. This never happened whatsoever. It was actually going to be released under a new brand released in 1999 called Nickflix for made-for-TV original animated shows and TV events, bigger than an ordinary show, a full-length movie feature program.
It's coming! We can't stop it! Not that we'd want to. Starting Sunday, April 18th, Nickelodeon brings you a TV event longer than a half hour, bigger than an ordinary show. It's Nickflix, full-length movies just for you! Only on Nickelodeon.
The project is forced to be shelved until February 2003, and then it's not seen again until 13 years later. It was most likely also shelved for 3 years because Nickflix sort of hit the ground dead, ended up having to air on basic Nicktoons. Fast forward to 2016, and there's a person who somehow found the original master tape, which was the first known release on YouTube of the Electric Piper when it was announced that it was found in August 2016. And to this day, 10 years later, that person is still not known.
When things were looking more dire than ever, the movie was found. On August 9th, 2016, more than a year and a half after the film's release and disappearance, the movie was found again, thanks to a mystery person who sent it as a Google Drive file in the Lost Media Wiki shoutbox. And although we have no information regarding the one who found the movie that was thought to be impossible to find, it's thought that they knew someone involved in production and was able to pull some strings.
However, in an early 2023 rare limited time, the movie is found again, officially on a Nickelodeon program, but only for Canadian audience through the Pluto streaming program of streaming eras in the 2020s and under the Nick Movies brand. I only found this out because I heard rumors about that and looked for myself using a NordVPN through Pluto streaming connected to Canada. I personally found out about this movie through Blame It on Jorge with his 2015 20 Lost Kids Films report video, and again in early 2016, a few months before it's rediscovered on updated pieces of lost media.
Electric Piper. Electric Piper first aired on Nickelodeon in 2003 and was about a guitarist named Sly in the suburban town of Hamlin. The movie hasn't been seen since its initial airings on Nickelodeon. It was never released on VHS or DVD, and only a few clips have resurfaced online. Although a Reddit user by the name of MJ Max managed to get in contact with the film's director, Raimi Musquiz. He says that Raimi has a full copy of the movie, but for some reason, he's not allowed to distribute it, and hopes to find a way to get it online.
And then on August 9th, I woke up and found on his Facebook page I used to follow, The Electric Piper has been found. I skipped to the end of the movie for a quick look. Personally, I was not actually 100% interested in The Electric Piper at first 10 years ago on August 9th. I was actually more busy learning about what lost media was and trying to find a lost edition of Thomas and the Magic Railroad from 1999, most notably the P.T. Boomer storyline, how that whole unedited version of that movie could be found. But I eventually did check The Electric Piper a couple times now and then in 2016 later, and I did end up adoring it by the end of that year. I personally found the art and style of the movie nice to look at, especially the characters of all the kids, adults, and the Piper himself, Sly, modeled after Jimi Hendrix. It was very interesting, so much so I even, after learning what I knew by 2019, that there was more missing. And I was right, because I honestly felt that there was a bit of some stuff missing than what was seen on TV, or even what was found again 13 years later, but there'd been a lot of a treasure trove to uncover. Just a hunch. So yes, in 2019 to 2021, I did make effort with Bill Burnett and Raimi Musquiz to find out more about the behind the scenes, as most of you probably know, and some has still yet to be revealed actually. Mostly the demo recordings, the original soundtracks, and an unedited version of the movie with the deleted scene we now know as All Dressed Up, modeled after Paul Robeson, a baritone singer. Thank you for watching. I'm very happy I was do this and share it with all of you. A presentation of former Lost Media Hall of Fame. Special thanks to Blame It on Jorge, All Things Lost, and even No Parking Barry for doing their reports on this subject as well, even giving credit to me for the findings of production.
Another shout out goes to Paul from Synth Commando for his dedication to archiving as much Electric Piper material as possible.
Also, it should be worth mentioning that pretty soon, thanks to me being so passionate with this project and the lost media itself, hopefully to bring a cult following, the Electric Piper custom-made models through Blender, thanks to freelancers, will be released soon in Garry's mod. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and share, and I'll see you later.